Saturday, the 8th of August, 2026. And here is a thought for the day. The last of the human freedoms is to choose one's attitudes. The last of the human freedoms is to choose one's attitude. And that, my friends, was Viktor Frankl. First of all, I have an apology to make. I've been broadcasting recently just to Facebook, different Facebook pages, but only to Facebook. And usually in the past, I've been broadcasting to Instagram, let me see, to Threads, Tumblr, Mastodon, Blue Sky. And I just been remiss at not putting it on there, because in order to do that, I've actually got to go in and share this thing on my laptop, not my laptop, on my iPad. For some reason, it won't do it on my computer here, and I don't want to spend all the time figuring out how to do it, because it's so easy to do on my laptop, and I just forget. I really, what I should do is when I leave here is go and just post right away on all of those. And if you've been watching me on one of those, Instagram especially, then I most humbly apologize. But as of now, my new resolution is to do that every single day and to do it as soon as I can after this broadcast, which means I don't forget and things don't get in the way, because things do get in the way. So here we are. But today's reading is, I think it's well, they're all pretty good actually, but this one I think is especially good. The title is called Fear Does Not Define Me. I wouldn't recommend that as an affirmation, because your subconscious mind apparently ignores the not. But it's a good title for the reading, Fear Doesn't Define Me. First quote is from, I've mentioned it before. In the 20th century, there were lots of people who were great around the world, who were great examples. But the three who struck me the most were Mother Teresa, Princess Di, and for different reasons, right? And, well, not necessarily different reasons. Both of those two people really knew how to connect with people, irrespective of that person's status. And they weren't afraid to get down dirty and touch and be with people who were really deprived of all sorts of things. And the third one is, the quote for today is from him, and that was Nelson Mandela. And although it doesn't mention it specifically here, the reason why I love Nelson Mandela was because despite all his faults, and we all have faults, and I know he had some, but despite all of those, he demonstrated the ability to forgive. And I think that is one of the human qualities that we should all emulate. After years in prison, he went from hating and wanting revenge on his captors to forgiving them and even making friends with the guy who was his jailer, I guess, for most of the time. So those are my three heroes, heroines of the last century, and Nelson Mandela. And here's the quote from Nelson Mandela. He says, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave person isn't the one who doesn't feel afraid, but the one who conquers that fear." A minute, gender non-specific. Nelson Mandela. How true. And Ernest Holmes says, "The budding rose, the flowering tree, the corn ripe for harvest, the child at play in the surging tide, the saint kneeling before the altar of their faith, all are manifestations of the one life, the one presence, and the one power." And if that isn't a mystical expression, my friends, I don't know what is. And that was Living Without Fear, page 85. And Reverend Robbins asks us this: how do you see yourself? Many of us quickly answer with identifiers such as, I'm an accountant. Thank God I'm not. I'm a mom. Obviously, I'm not a mom. Or I'm a chemistry student. Well, I guess I've done that. You might also answer, I'm a good person, I'm kind, or I enjoy helping others. All of these labels, of course, are true. Then she goes on to say, Sometimes we define ourselves in ways that we don't notice. We might use negative labels, even if we never ever say them out loud. Labels such as, I'm broke, I'm shy, or I struggle with relationships. You can start to notice these patterns by paying attention to your thoughts. Look at what stories you repeatedly tell yourself. Perhaps you constantly worry about paying a bill, or being liked by others, or maybe being healthy. Your life story can be either empowering or self-deprecating. Yes, and you alone have the power to choose how you describe yourself. People with life-threatening diagnoses are often encouraged not to let their diagnoses define who they are. They are more than their illness, and their future is not predetermined. The same concept applies to each of us. When you take charge of your own story, you gain power and begin steering your life. While we all have fears, our fears don't have to define who we are. She says, rework your life story and include a demonstration of God's infinite good as your life right here and right now. And if that isn't the truth, I don't know what is. But it's true that we often are self-deprecating, and that doesn't do us any good, but it doesn't do anybody else any good either, because we all have great qualities. We may not always recognize them. We all have qualities that are good and useful in the world, whatever they are, even if it's only the ability, well, I'm saying even such things as the ability to make another person smile, to help another person feel good about themselves. You don't have to be an Einstein. You don't have to be a Michael Jordan. You don't have to be somebody like Hillary and Tenzing, who were the first to climb Mount Everest. You don't have to be any of those things. You just have to simply be you. And you just have to simply know that you are a worthy human being. And my friends, that is my reading and my encouragement for the day. And tomorrow, I do believe, for some reason, it shut me down. Maybe it's trying to hide me, but technology, you're not going to hide me because I am back again. So, and then 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, it will be me. So, lots of opportunities. And if you want to know more about us, go to our well, Creative Life Spiritual Center's webpage, where you can see lots of other stuff that we do on there. All the things during the week, 2 weekly book studies, a discussion group on Fridays called Philosophy Friday, 2 classes going on right now, and daily readings and a midweek meditation. So lots and lots of stuff going on. So my knowing this for everyone here is a wonderful rest of the weekend. And until next time, namaste.